This comes to us from Christianity Today, which is not a source that I normally go to for my news, but this is one of those let's laugh at them crying moments, because fewer Americans than ever see pastors as ethical.
It's
And
almost like people are realizing that just because somebody's in a position of power, it doesn't mean they're a good person.
yeah, in
So
fact,
strange.
when you have an easily accessible position of power that has like zero entry requirements and an organization that is known to protect its own, regardless of what heinous crimes they do, then people who are power hungry and tend to commit heinous crimes will be attracted to those positions.
If you, as a fun experiment, if you live in any place that has a lot of evangelicals, right? Just anyone at all, I want you to do a fun experiment. Ask yourself if you've ever heard the phrase, he wouldn't do that. He's a man of God.
Hmm.
How often has that phrase been said, either about a parental figure or a pastor or what have you, anybody? How often has that been used as a defense mechanism there? And as soon as you realize none of you have heard this phrase for the very first time today, that's why that position can get so easily abused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also they still do it somewhat, but now nowhere near to the same extent. They used to be in movies all the time. Putting the pastor's collar on someone was the automatic "this is a good guy" character, you can trust him
Mm,
symbol. And yeah, as soon as all the reports and everything started coming out, I was just like, I no longer think that. When I see the collar, I'm now like, no, you need to turn around and run the other way.
yep, you see the caller, and immediately you go, well, I'm gonna steer clear of this, buddy.
Yeah. So now we do get a bonus tweet in with this article because I saw it's written by Kate Shellnut January, and I was like, what the fuck kind of name is Shellnut January?
Shell nut. That
Shell.
sounds like a
So
that sounds like a bad holiday.
so turns out January is not actually part of her name. That's just like a glitch in Pockets, the way it like pulled it from the website. So whatever. Her name is just Kate Shellnut. But I the first thing that came up when I where are we? I think it's this one. There we go. First thing that came up when I Googled her was this tweet. Apparently, there's a Bible study that is following along with Taylor Swift's Eras tour. So it's Tuesdays with Taylor, and it uses the lyrics in some of her songs to study the Bible. And then the example she gave is, I guess there's a lyric, "I'll never let you go because I know this is a fight that someday we're going to win," which I am not a Swiftie, so I was not familiar with this before, but I've now listened to that song, and it actually was quite nice. I enjoyed it. And it was a political statement that she wrote around, I think it was 2019 that she wrote it. And she basically framed the situation between the United States and, and its population, the sane population, as like a relationship where you really, really love someone, but they're doing crazy, stupid stuff that is jeopardizing everything, and you really hope that they stop.
So you
Uh,
love your country,
yeah,
but your country can't stop fucking up.
yeah, that's kind of the gist of the song, and I kind of liked that. I was like, okay, yeah, I see it, I see it. You know, it's not the like it's not like high art, but it's better than I could do. But anyway, I kind of laughed at this though because they took that and they were like, "Oh, that reminds me of this verse where like don't be scared, don't be afraid, don't panic or be terrified by them. The Lord your God is going with you. He'll fight for you. He'll help you win
They're
the battle over your enemies." Deuteronomy
they're
20, Deuteronomy chapter 20 verses 3 and 4. Suris, do you know offhand what is contained in Deuteronomy chapter 20?
Isn't this mostly about the Canaanites at this point?
Um, yes, but specifically Deuteronomy 20 is the it's the chapter that outlines the rules of war and how Israel is to behave during war. Not specific to the Canaanites, but like, this is how you treat cities that are near you. This is how you treat cities that are far away from you. It's the one that says if they're close to you, you genocide them all, and if they're far away from you, you enslave them.
That's
So it's like,
that's cute.
That's the Bible verse that Taylor Swift reminded them of. I
This
bet
reminds
you
me-
they didn't study outside of verses 3 and 4 for that one, because you don't have to go far.
Then you get the context.
Yeah, you don't have to go far in chapter 20 to get to some really nasty shit.
This reminds me of two things I used to do as a Christian. So I liked secular music when I was a Christian because, it's actually good. So I used to do that thing where I would listen to music and I would try to take the lyrics that I was listening to and pertain them to the Bible, because I grew up in PCA, so I had to like internally justify the things I was listening to.
All the love songs are about Jesus.
I had to make them make sense in a Christian way so that I didn't feel guilty about them being the things I was primarily listening to. And there was an event. All the Sonic the Hedgehog fans in my audience are going to laugh their asses off at this. There's an event that happened. So I owned the Sonic Adventure 2 soundtrack as a kid. Mm-hmm. I had the CD and I popped it into the car radio when we were on the way to school because I listened to it on repeat. I still do as an adult. I've grown so much, don't you know? But Eggman's theme song has a particular lyric in it, which is not true to his character, really, but he wanted to understand the mysteries of life. That's a lyric in pertaining to Dr. Eggman for Sonic.
Okay.
If you've played Sonic, you know that he's just fucking evil. But so I heard that lyric, and my mom on cue goes, if he wanted to understand the mysteries of life, he could have just read the Bible.
Oh.
So this just brought that memory up to the forefront, Rhino.
Oh God. Okay. So anyway, back to the Christian Post. So Americans have a harder time trusting anyone these days, including pastors. So the country's perception of clergy hit a new low in a recent Gallup poll, with fewer than a third of Americans rating clergy as highly honest and ethical, which is significantly lower than the number of Christians that rate themselves as Christian, or Americans that rate themselves as Christian, which seems kind of weird that, like, I feel like that would create some cognitive dissonance for me. Like if I actually had to fill out the survey and write it down, be like, you know what? I actually don't trust religious leaders of the religion that I claim to be. Why am I that religion?
You gotta remember though, for a lot of these Christians, they don't see they see their religion as divorced from the place in which they worship, because a lot of times they don't see it as a religion, they see it as a relationship.
Yeah, no, we get to that in the article where like most Christians trust their pastor. It's the other pastors they don't trust.
Because this feels very Steven Anderson. Or Pastor Greg Locke. You can trust the things I say, but those other people who say the exact same things, don't trust them. They're Jezebites or something.
Yeah. This is a bit concerning though. Like as an overall trend, people are more likely to believe in the moral standards held by nurses, police officers, and chiropractors than their religious leaders. So a profession that has a high rate of abusing their own wives. A profession that is based off of... Definitely don't Google 40% of police officers. A profession that was started literally, at least in America, that was started literally because a guy thought he had ghosts tell him to manipulate people's spines. Oh. Yeah, okay. No. You're going for the chiropractors. I thought you were going to go and talk about how the American model of policing basically began as an offshoot of the KKK. Well, yeah, because it was the people who rounded up slaves. Yeah, was how our police force. So began. when you said a ghost, I'm like, yeah, they do dress like ghosts. No. It's like, no, you're talking about the magical spine juices. Okay. I'm talking about the magical spine juices. God damn. Too much overlap here, man. Remember, the police don't actually have your best interests at heart, and the chiropractors 90% of the time don't actually know what the fuck you're talking about.
They can help you with a pinched nerve. They're not going to actually cure your fucking sciatica.
And don't ever take a baby to a chiropractor.
No, definitely do not.
Because that is a thing that people do sometimes.
That is a thing that can damage somebody for life.
And it has. It can kill. Especially kids and babies.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry to bring it down with dead babies, but...
It's not. You're not bringing anything down with dead babies. I'm sure that everybody's made a dead baby joke or 5.
That might be a product of the 90s. Do the kids still make dead baby jokes?
I'm sure the kids are still stupid and edgy like we were. Probably.
Like, how many dead babies does it take to paint a wall? Depends how hard you throw them.
I was like, it's gonna go there, isn't it? Yep, it went there.
That's the only one that I remember. That's the only one that I remember. But there were a lot of them.
The one I remember most is, what's the difference between a pile of dead babies and a Ferrari? I don't have a Ferrari in my garage.
Well, I mean, we're atheists, so that's just to be expected.
That's just breakfast.
That's just, I just did my grocery shopping.
It's that moment in Has Been Hotel where Vaggie walks in on Alistair eating breakfast. That's us, except instead of a deer, it's babies.
Yeah, so over the past 4 years, trust in pastors have dropped from 40% to 32%, which corresponds with more skepticism towards all professions and institutions across the board, because almost all of them experienced a drop.
Yeah. There's only so many times you can hear your doctor tell you you need a $20,000 medication before you start to feel a little weird about it.
Well, yeah, and you got to also keep in mind that this I believe this was a 2022 poll. 2023 poll, but it's looking at the change in between 2019 to 2023. So you got to keep in mind that that's also, like, it's got the pandemic in there.
That's
so,
fair.
This is the actual chart.
So this would be
you get a bunch of
the people going, I don't trust doctors because they told me I got the COVID. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, like you get the people who follow everything that Trump says, and Trump gets up there and says, shine light up your ass and drink bleach. Doctors don't know what they're talking about. And you get people not trusting doctors as much.
Yeah.
But this also kind of correlates with less than half Americans now belong to a church, even if they do still call themselves Christian, and the nuns are growing. That's us.
I'm gonna be honest. I am more comfortable because of the things that I've heard from pastors here specifically. I am more comfortable with being around Christians who don't generally go to church, because this is the area, as an example, my ex-roommate, the pastor at his family's church, went on a tirade about how it was okay for the Israelites to kill the Canaanites' babies because they would have grown up to be filthy pagans and would have gone to hell. And he then said that applies even today. It's better for pagan babies to be killed. And just he texted me when that happened and was like, so this is a thing my pastor's saying.
And that's
gross.
Like he was saying that, like, if they die as babies, then they go straight to heaven. Was that the idea? Yeah. So
that's the idea.
So he was pro-abortion then, right?
No.
Oh, funny how they're not consistent there.
I don't expect consistency from them, but like I know that's the kind of stuff that can come out of pastors' mouths here in the Georgia South, which is consistent with the fact that we are the place where the third resurgence of the KKK happened. That was at Stone Mountain. So, just a little bit of history of good old Georgia.
Yeah.
We have Marjorie Taylor Greene for a reason.
Yeah. Dr. Don says Psalm 137:9 intensifies. That is the one about
the dash of the babies.
That's the one about painting rocks with dead babies.
Yep. Happy is he who throws the babies' heads on the rocks, which... Yeah. Oh, wait, no, it was blessed is he, which meant happy back then.
So, I was actually, like, I was thinking, like, when I made the the dead baby joke. I was like, oh, is it crossing a line to do that? And it's like, no, they like Christians literally have a book that tells them that people are happy about throwing babies against the rock. And the justification for that one, I don't know if you've ever seen that, is that it wasn't a command from God to do that. This was a song that was written while they were in captivity. So this was them like fantasizing about what they wanted to do to their captors.
So why did they want to kill their captors' children? Why is that where they went?
Well, because they're just fantasizing about getting them back for putting them in captivity. So it's basically it's justification of a dead baby joke, essentially.
I don't know. I can think of people that I legitimately would consider my enemies based on the things they have said in my comment section. And I can't imagine wanting to harm their children.
Into super chat, so thank you, Dr. Don.
Like, I can't imagine their children needing to be victims as part of my grand plan.
Yeah, no. If anything, I think of children as victims because they still have to live with their parents.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So then this executive director for the Institute for Transformational Leadership at North Greenville University says, as American culture becomes increasingly pluralistic and post-Christian, we can't assume that Americans in general default to a positive view of clergy. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier with, like, you can't just slap a collar on a character in a movie and have everybody assume he's the good guy anymore.
I feel like having better clergy that did less shitty things should have happened before the American populace started turning against them.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like they have good reason to turn against them.
Yeah.
I say ministers must work harder to gain public trust than was the case even a generation ago. Yeah, that's because we've probably 2 generations now at least. Like when did what's her name? I'm blanking on her name. Irish singer.
What is she known for?
Irish singer. She ripped up a picture of the Pope on live TV and got booed off the stage.
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, God damn it.
Sarah says O'Connor. Sinead O'Connor?
Sinead O'Connor, yes, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah. So she knew in the 90s. Like, that was why she did that. And she basically ruined her career to make that point, because at the time everybody was like, no, you can't just say bad things about religious leaders because they're men of God. Yeah, she knew back then. The information was available back then, and that was like 90s. But how many generations have there been since the 90s? So like, you and I are 90s kids, and then there's the Gen Z. What's the order go?
There's Gen X, then Millennials,
Gen X, then Millennial,
then Gen Z.
Gen Z, and then the Zoomers. No, Zoomer is Gen Z.
Zoomer is Gen Z. And
Alpha.
then, yeah.
So it's 3 generations now. So for 3 generations now, this information has been available. It was probably available before that, if you bothered to look for it. But give a bit of a pass, because the advent of the internet made it easier to find.
Early 2000s is when I started seeing more jokes about pedophilic pastors in media.
That's the date that they come up to in here as well. But I'm saying that before it became more commonly accepted, the information was still there. So there's at least 3 generations. So yeah, there's good reason for it to be on the decline.
Yeah.
And then they pointed out how scandals like clergy sex abuse, growing political polarization, and evangelical countercultural moral positions. So that's, we don't like gay people. We don't like them gay and trans people. Like, okay, then the gay and trans people ain't gonna like you. And hate to break it to you, but like, the younger generations are way more accepting of gay and trans people. So if you're gonna die on that hill, you will die on that hill.
Jeez. It's
sorry.
On the bright side, though, it is heartening to know that trust in clergy is waning, because it's not like the pastors have gotten better.
Yeah.
In fact, there's arguments that can be made that they've gotten a little worse because, like, about 10 years ago or so, Westboro Baptist Church was the meme
Yeah.
that you would point to it like, this is what a bigoted church looks like. But then you look at the NIFB and they're about 2 or 3 shades worse, and they're bigger.
And significantly bigger, yeah.
They're in multiple countries. I mean, hell, Steven Anderson's banned in 34 of them. Look up Steven Anderson Rule 34 if you want to know more of that.
Yes, definitely look that up, but a lot of those bans have expired and not been renewed.
But he still was banned in those countries. Like, that's not an incorrect statement.
Yeah. But yeah, so especially among those who have had either bad church experiences or whose worldview assumptions are already at odds with historic Christian beliefs, that's something that's going to contribute to them not trusting clergy. So, like, yeah, if you are gay or you know someone who is gay and you are fine with that and you recognize that there's nothing wrong with being gay, and you recognize that there's a bunch of scientific research saying that there's nothing wrong with being gay, and in fact trying to make gay people not be gay is actually really, really harmful, and same goes, all of those same things go equally similar for trans people. And then the church is like, yeah, no, God hates gay people. Or well, they won't say God hates gay people. This is like, being gay is a sin. God loves the person, but they're not supposed to act on the sin. And for some reason, that sin is the one that they got to fixate on instead of something like divorce.
It's because they're very busy thinking about dudes' dicks. They're not gay, but they focus on it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, when you get people that are just trying to live their lives and then an organization that says, no, you're not allowed, and they're going to be like, okay, I don't trust people in your organization anymore.
Yeah.
And then we got the, damn it, you're not making Christianity better, you're just making rock and roll worse. That's the King of the Hill reference, if I'm not mistaken.
You're not making Christianity better, you're making rock and roll worse.
Yep. About that. The most dramatic decline in clergy trust came around the crisis of sex abuse by Catholic priests in the early 2000s, when positive ratings fell from 64% to 52%. Yep, that tracks.
That tracks with when we started seeing that shift in media, too.
Yeah. Now, one of the things they don't mention on Christianity Today, because I'm pretty sure that they have evangelical leanings, so they're probably anti-Catholic unless they need them to bolster their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So what they don't mention is that the sex abuse scandals, it's been pretty well discovered that, like, name a denomination and they have a sex abuse scandal.
That's actually why the NIFB and the IFB split publicly. The NIFB was formed due to sex abuse scandals that were happening in the IFB. For people who don't know, that's the Independent Fundamental Baptist Church, so the ones who bankrolled Plant School Christian Academy. And
so what's really remarkable in my brain now is that even now that you've said that, I'm like, did they split off because they wanted to continue the abuse and the IFB was going to call them out, or was the IFB committing the abuse and they left to leave the abuse? So I'm like,
I'd say
it could go either way.
Column B. Publicly leaving so that they could distance themselves from the abuse and say that they're different, and then still just continue the same abuse. Because you can't tell me that with all the vitriol those pastors shit out on a daily basis, that there's not some just absolutely disgusting shit happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Especially with how small some of those congregations are.
Yeah. No, yeah, and we've heard some of the recordings of Matt Powell abusing his followers.
Yep, the abusive cupcake.
So, like, yeah, I don't see his marriage not containing similar situations, unfortunately.
Yeah. Also, I was just notified my mic messed up. Yeah, I accidentally hit the pad on my Focusrite. Sorry, I fixed it now.
So this next sentence actually kind of confuses me. It says, Gallup found that white, high-income, and college-educated Americans thought the best of pastors. What?
So that actually kind of tracks. So those are the people who are also statistically most likely to believe in authority figures in general. Like that will track with that side of things as well. They already think that authority figures can do no wrong. They're in a privileged position not to be negatively affected by those authority figures. So that would track with the pastors as well.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, that's also the demographic that's least likely to be religious.
True, but not all of this is a straight Venn diagram.
Yeah. Okay. Fair point. Yeah, there's a bit more stuff that kind of tracks, but has a couple of like kind of moments. Like elder millennials and Gen X were most cynical. Fewer than a quarter of people between 35 and 54 had a positive view of clergy ethics, compared to 38% of older Americans and 30% of those under 35. So yeah, older millennials like me and Gen Xers really don't trust clergy. My age group in particular, less than 25% of us trust clergy. So like, yeah, we all got the we're the ones who were old enough to have really understood the magnitude of the situation when the sex abuse stuff was coming out.
Well, especially because for y'all, and to a lesser extent me, because I'm a decent few years younger than you, but
Yeah.
for y'all, it was a whiplash effect. Y'all got the growing up in the trusting society and then having that ripped away while you were still in formative years.
Yeah, and then you get the older people who are old and stuck in their ways, and that's the way it's always gone, is that the older people tend to be more religious. But the actually, you know what you just said, I think it might explain why the younger generation has a bit of a more favorable view than millennials. That actually kind of tracks.
They didn't grow up with the slingshot effect.
Yeah. So they didn't grow up hearing that all these preachers were good guys. They grow up hearing that all these preachers are bad guys, and then they meet one who seems like a good guy.
Yeah, usually it's like a youth pastor, and then they'll go from there.
Yeah.
Naki Bree says slingshot effect. So a slingshot effect is when you have think of yourself pulling back a slingshot. That's your current state of being. And then when you let go, all that kinetic energy comes out. That's where you are forward afterwards. It's hard to come back from that. Yeah. A lot of sci-fi will use this to have like a spaceship slingshot around a planet using its gravity. If we're talking about something like this, the pulling back is the state that you were in when you were nice, comfy, nestled. Oh, the pastor was definitely a good guy. And then that releasing of the kinetic energy is when that worldview shatters. It's very hard to go back after that.
When you said sci-fi, like, yes, I know the slingshot maneuver around the sun to travel through time or whatever, and go back and save the whales. But as soon as you said sci-fi, my first thought was like, it's going to be like, oh, this is how the villains have their arc, is like everything was fine, and then the thing happened that turned them into a villain, like whether a child died or something.
It popped in my mind mainly because I've been reading the Halo books with my partner, and one of the they do not have the ability to fight the Covenant spaceships in the Halo universe in the beginning because it's just the technology gap is too wide. They have plasma shields on the Covenant spaceships, and we've got, United States Federation ships that just don't have that kind of tech. And when you try to fire nukes at the ships, they just shoot them out of the air with lasers. Like, it doesn't do anything. So what they started doing was they would fire a nuke around a planet so that it would slingshot into the enemy while the ship in the front was distracting them. And the nuke would have a tracking warhead, and the Covenant had no idea that, like, this is shit that the humans would do. To be fair, the humans didn't know they were going to have to fucking slingshot nukes around the planet, but it's how the humans get their first actual victories against the Covenant in space battles in the Halo universe. Yes, it's the Cole Protocol.
Yeah. Neuromna puts this pointing out gravitational assists are really common in rocket science, I think. Yeah, but don't call them boring things like gravitational assists. Like, what is this, Kerbal Space Program?
Yeah, we call it things like the Cole Protocol, or there's also another one where it's called the Keys Maneuver, where, like, I forget what the specific thing with the Keys Maneuver was, but there's another
Wampa 77 in my Twitch chat said that it's the Keys Maneuver. It's got a million names. It's the same thing. You use the gravity of something to change your velocity in one way or another. So yeah. Now, this is where we get to nearly 2/3 of Americans have a very positive opinion of a pastor they have a personal connection with, compared to a quarter who said the same about pastors in general. So that's the, like, yeah, no, I don't trust pastors, but, like, my pastor's a good guy.
Mm-hmm. I don't trust them in general, but...
Yeah. And that's actually kind of, like, that's... And I
All right.
like this is an effect that goes both ways, because this is like one of the reasons why people are becoming more accepting of LGBTQ people is that there are more LGBTQ people that are out. And so when you interact with them on a regular basis and you recognize that they're just normal people, like for me, when I was a Christian who was anti-LGBTQ, thank you, I ended up working in a restaurant where the pastry chef was gay, and I had to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at work together. We chat sometimes. He was a good guy. Got to know him a bit. We were never friends that would hang out outside of work, but like we were on good terms.
But it humanizes them to you.
Yeah, so it's like how do I square this with the I'm supposed to not like the gay thing, but like I don't care who he has sex with. I'm not having sex with him, so what does it matter?
I also the correction that was from your chat. The slingshot thing is the keys maneuver. The Cole protocol was the make sure the Covenant don't find Earth. Anytime the Covenant is about to capture a ship, you have to blow it up so the navigation data doesn't get in their hands, so that they can't find Earth. That was the Cole protocol.
Yeah. Oop. Muthicus. I clicked on that accidentally, but there you go. You're live and featured now.
They caught a live one, and you caught their chat, so you caught a live one.
Oh,
y'all caught each other.
It's so exciting. I don't know whether it was my browser that updated or whether YouTube updated or something or whatnot, but like, you know how I had that issue where every time I clicked to highlight a chat message, it would right click even though I'm left clicking?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't do that anymore. And it's amazing.
That's cool. I spent the first 20 minutes of my chat with YouTube chat just not working.
Oh, that's fun.
I had to reset my stream because whatever update they did recently fucked everything.
I know I don't get to say this often, but Suris, that sounds like a skill issue.
Sorry, I had to forget which way I had to turn my head to do that.
Oh, I thought you were like trying to remember which shortcut it was. Like crazy shortcuts like Alt-Shift-9 or something like that.
Oh, for like my facial expressions?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't have to press anything for this. I can just squint at you.
Okay, fair enough. So then yeah, they're bemoaning the fact that that even this where like you trust your own pastor, even that can cause trust to be eroded at the local church level, because then like if you see a dispute within the church, you're now going to lose trust in your own pastor. And this is according to David Fletcher, founder of X-Pastor, a website dedicated to pastor-themed pornography.
I thought that this was going to be a website about people who used to be part of the clergy that people would mistake as a porn website.
Yeah, no, well, that's the thing. I when I saw this, I was like, okay, X-Pastor. First thing that popped in my head is it's just like nun porn, but it's pastors.
Yeah.
So it's a website dedicated just for that. Like X-Hamster. Well, I guess X-Hamster doesn't focus on hamsters, does it? That would be weird.
We only talk about gerbling.
Yeah, but I'm like, it's a porn site for a pastor fetish. Okay, fine, whatever. Or maybe it's an organization that helps former pastors. Like the
Clergy Project.
Yeah, like the Clergy Project. Maybe it's something like that because they're ex-pastors. And I was like, or maybe it's a porn site where all the performers used to be clergy. And this is what they do for a living now.
I once had God inside of me. Now I have many men.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like I could see that being like a slingshot effect. I spent my entire life repressed, and now I want to let it all loose and share it with the world. So like I could see something like that happening where it's like, nope, it's a resource for executive pastors. They just don't recognize that that's a really bad name. But I actually I kind of want to do this because on this website, which looks like a fucking scam website, like that is not, it doesn't scale very well, so I can't zoom in or out. But like, yeah, it does.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Why is there so many weird ads everywhere?
Yeah, no, it's all their own shit, but like this looks like a fucking scam. But they have, they have Salary Forecaster, which is free. Apparently it's got a value of $150. But so I don't know if this is actual data or if this is just a dummy spreadsheet that they filled out to give you an example. But if you provide your church's financial data to them, they will then provide you with all the financial data from all the other churches that they have collected.
But that just means if you spoof it.
It's anonymized, so you don't get to see which church is paying what. But like, I like the idea of having access to all these churches' financial data, but the problem is I'd have to fake it in order to get it, and the act of faking it in order to get it means that it's easy to fake, so how much of it is actually real? And Wamp is asking, is this the site y'all were talking about with Apologia the other day? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
This is it. Yeah. So changes in societal views can influence church members and leaders beneath the surface. Like it's like a tide carrying us along for quite some time before we realize we have moved. So, yeah, tides go in, tides go out. No one can explain that. Except, yes, we can explain
that. Meme needs to die.
It does, but...
you can't explain that, but a scientist can.
Yeah, but... No, but this is the thing, that like, this is the church fighting tooth and nail about the fact that society is progressing without them. If they don't catch up with it, they will die out. That's just how it's going to work. And they're realizing this, but they're taking the wrong lessons from it. But anyway, they point out that the Bible says that pastors are supposed to have a good reputation with the outside world. Like 1 Timothy 3:7 says elders need to have a good reputation with outsiders. 1 Peter 2:12 says Christians should live good lives so that those outside the church notice their good deeds. Yelling about gay people and how much you hate them, that's not a good deed. The outsiders aren't going to look at that and say they're leading a good life.
They feel as though it is, though, and it's like I've started to come with a new mantra for myself when I see shit in my comment section that's just toxic as hell. Nobody that is truly happy is doing that kind of shit. Nobody who's truly happy is going onto the side of the sidewalk and screaming about gay people. Nobody who's truly happy is going into your comment section and trying to make you feel like shit. Like, nobody who's actually satisfied in their own life is doing this shit.
Yeah. No. I can't imagine focusing that much hate on someone for something that has nothing to do with you.
I can't either. I really can't. Actually, speaking of that, I made a tweet today. I know, weird, shocker, but I made a tweet today about...
Sorry, when you say I made a tweet today, remember, I do have young children in my house again, so now I pictured you saying that in the same way that they would be like, I made a poop today. And it's kind of similar. Kind of similar results there. It's a big old steaming pile of something.
But I made a tweet about how a common refrain for conservatives is they'll say that, you know, you couldn't make a movie like Blazing Saddles today. And I just thought about a lot of the media I've watched that is recent media that uses all of the same styles of shock humor. Like, I mean, Has Been Hotel does, The Boys does, and I just posted them like, you know, these types of shock. What's up?
I was gonna say those stupid shows that were, there's like 3 shows that were made by the same guy that just couldn't get over himself. That like what was it? Paradise PD is one of them. It wasn't the original one. But like I started watching it, and I actually started watching 2 of their shows, not knowing that it was just done by the same people. And so I was just like, oh, is this the sad state of what adult animation has become? Because it's just like, I said dick, that's funny. Ha ha ha. This guy had his dick chopped off in an accident. Ha ha ha, that's funny. Oh, this person did a gross thing that you're not allowed to do on TV normally, but they did it on TV. It anyway. And it's just like, okay, no, this is... I wouldn't have even found this funny when I was a stupid teenager.
But like my thing was this type of shock humor.
Brickleberry. Was Brickleberry the futuristic one? Because there was the Forest Rangers one, the police one, and then the futuristic fantasy one. That they were all the same show. and but I didn't know that it was written by the same people that were just pathetic. I thought it was like, that's just what people think comedy is now, and I was disappointed, honestly.
But like we have so much of that stuff that still goes around today that just goes, what are people offended by today? Let me say that thing and put it on TV. I'm not supposed to do it on TV, but here I am doing it on TV. It's a thing that comedians do all the time. It's a thing that movies do all the time. It's a thing that TV shows do all the time. And I just said, like,
There we go. We got all the titles now. Is Brickleberry was the Park Rangers one. Fazbar was space. I don't think it was Fazbar. It's something Farzar, I think it might have been. I don't know. Whatever. It was forgettable.
and then one person commented, this sounds like something someone would say if they hadn't seen Blazing Saddles. So I just went, okay, which part am I supposed to not be able to recreate today? The copious use of the N-word, the part where they're eating beans in the forest and farting a bunch, like the part where the dude gets bricked over the head with a shovel, like which part of that movie am I supposed to pretend we can't do?
Did well, the white supremacists in New York accidentally recreated the somebody go back for a dime scene.
So after I was like actually naming scenes from the movie to them, they went, but Blazing Saddles is a classic and Has Been Hotel sucks. And I just went, oh, that's why this person who doesn't follow me and doesn't engage with anything I've ever said is commenting on this. They did a search bar thing for somebody saying Has Been Hotel and decided to come in and do the hater thing. And I see those types of people the same way as I see the pastors who yell on the sides of the road. These aren't happy people. These are sad people who need your anger to fuel them.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, evangelical leaders agreed certain church stances and doctrines may cause pastors to lose credibility in today's culture, you think. But that pastors should take their character and public witness seriously. So they seem to be like under the impression that like there's many pastors have been found to be bullies and hypocrites, alcohol abusers and womanizers. The crisis of credibility is a symptom. The misuse of authority is the root cause. So like you're close. You're so close. It's like, I don't know. And then of course they're advertising the workshop from ex-pastor. Do you imagine that like your church is in the middle of a sex abuse scandal, so the pastor gets up and says, I'm going to take a workshop from ex-pastor. Go to xpastor.com. Stream me some videos.
I'm going to expose the woke left here. And he's just exposing himself.
That's what I call my left testicle. It's the woke left. Oh, God. Need to expose it.
I call it woke because the other one is broke.
Oh, I say it's within the power of church leaders to rebuild at least some of the trust if we respond faithfully to our own moral failures. You know how you could do that? You could, like, maybe not fight against legislation that would make priests mandatory reporters when they find out about sexual abuse. Not spend a bunch of money defending sexual predators.
Not spend $4,000 a day so you don't have to release the names of known abusers in your church. Jehovah's Witnesses. Not shuffle your clergy over to Chile whenever they get found out for bad shit here, Catholic Church. There's a lot of ways you can do it.
Yeah, not ignore the abuse victims and pray for absolution for the abuser when the abuse victim is standing right there, like that one video.
When they. Or in the situations where they're like, well, you didn't have two witnesses, so...
Oh, God. Or to go back to, I forget whether it's the JWs or the Mormons, but the ones that, like, if you get caught using porn, you have to have, like, a one-on-one session with the elders where they ask you to describe everything in great detail.
It's so that they can look it up later. Let's be honest.
It's also so that you can get used to discussing intimate sexual details with an old man in a position of authority, so that when stuff starts to turn sexual, you're not going to report them because that's just a normal thing for you now.
So tell me, Rhino,
Exactly which yoga position was she in when the 12th dick went in her throat? That's very interesting. You're going straight to hell.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, that's it for this one. Sorry that it sucked. But yeah, it's good news that we don't trust clergy anymore, because they don't deserve it. Like,
yeah.
you put on the collar, and we don't trust you. You have to prove to us that you are trustworthy before you get even the base level of trust.
You can't say put on the collar after talking about ex-pastor, Rhino. You can't.
They use condoms that have the little collar at the base. Or right beneath the head of the penis, it's got the little collar.
Did you know that my dick is ordained?
Do you want to confess your sins to my dick?
I'll let the Holy Ghost wash all over you.
Give it a full-throated confession, my child. Oh, shouldn't have said my child. Ugh. My 18-year-old or above child, because this is a legitimate porn website, not actual church activities. Ugh.
Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Nixie-chan, the Oberon team, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.